Welcome back this week for Flow for Life. This week we have a special guest named William Felder Jr. And he was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. He started his basketball career early on at an early age. He played high school basketball at Lutheran East High School, and he graduated in 2009 with many accolades, including the Ohio Division IV State Player of the Year. And then he went to go play Division I college basketball at St. Francis University and Miami University of Ohio. And you said your professional career started in 2014 in Leiden, Netherlands, and it ended 7 years later in Tours, France. And then now you a high school basketball coach, JV for Shaw High School. So, and you said you was a basketball trainer and also a basketball fan. So, yeah, I appreciate you for coming on. Really, I hit you up a couple days ago, told you what I wanted to do, and you was like, yeah, let's do it. So that you was real humble when it came to that. So I appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. Glad to be here.
Definitely. Is it something that you want to add as far as the intro, like for people that might not know you or people that do know you?
No, that's pretty much the quick version, the short version of the story, man.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about your childhood. Like, what made you want to get started playing basketball?
Man, for people that don't know, I'm from a basketball family. My father was a basketball player. He's older. Back in his days, AAU basketball was still kind of popular. Mm-hmm. It was AAU basketball was similar to like semi-pro basketball is now. So yeah, my dad played JUCO, left the JUCO, and was drafted by the Army, and actually went to Vietnam after he left the JUCO. So he never got a chance to go back and finish his college basketball career, but he was a basketball player. And then my uncle Charles Oakley, probably a lot of people know him. He played ball at the NBA. Yeah. So he played forever in the NBA. Played for the Bulls, played for the Knicks, the Raptors, and everything. I got another cousin on my mom's side that played overseas for 8 years, played at Alabama with Robert Ory. And I got 7 foot. Yeah. I come from basketball stock for sure. Yeah. So I started playing basketball probably when I was 5 or something like that. Basketball been around me since I can remember.
Yeah, that's dope. So like far as like your dad, and then of course did you say your uncle was Charles
Oakley?
Yeah,
my uncle, yeah.
So how was that? Like you had Charles Oakley, he was a tough dude.
Yeah. It was dope, man. I had some really fun, really once in a lifetime experiences growing up, going to games. I got to meet all of the guys. He played with Vince Carter in Toronto, and this was at the time when Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady played together. And Dale Curry was on that team. Steph Curry and them's pops, he was on that team. So, I got to meet a lot of people. I met Mike, I met MJ. Huh?
How was that meeting Mike?
Oh, that was crazy, man. It's like meeting the ghost. You know what I'm saying? It's like meeting the ghost, man. It's like you just stand there. It's like, yo, this is Mike, bro. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, it was great, man. I got I had a lot of fun experiences growing up in and out of NBA arenas and things like that. A lot of dope experiences.
Definitely. So I guess like growing up and you playing basketball, like how would you say that basketball helped build your character as a young man, all the way up to adulthood?
As a young man, basketball did everything for my character because I learned from an early age about like working, you know what I'm saying, earning, like getting better, honing your skills. and I learned about like real life stuff, like just because you work out and things like that, that don't mean that you necessarily gonna get in the game and make shots the next game. You know what I mean? Or right away. So, I learned that you got to be consistent. I learned that the results take time, just all kinds of, all kind of life lessons that you learn, you know what I mean? Basketball is sports in general is very close parallel to life, so definitely learned a lot of stuff along the way, man.
Okay. Yeah. So growing up, who was your role model?
My role model growing up, my dad was pretty much my role model growing up. I spent the majority of my time with my dad when I was growing up. He coached most of my teams all the way up until I got to probably 7th grade. So that was a lot of the teams that I played on. I mean, I remember I started playing rec league basketball in 2nd grade. So from that point all the way up into, I was 14, my dad coached me in rec league, and then, he took me on the AAU trips. He was right there everywhere. And he was pretty much my role model. He's a little bit older. He was a little bit older though, so he had a different kind of approach to basketball, I would say. He was old school, you know what I mean? Like he was teaching me the hook shots and you know what I mean? Yeah, like all of that kind of stuff. And we didn't even really go to high school games that much, honestly, when I was growing up, like all the way up to middle school. I didn't start going to high school games until I was almost in high school for real. And I think that was just because my dad was kind of so far removed from the high school scene, you know what I mean? So it was kind of it was interesting, but I went to a lot of NBA games, like I was saying. So yeah, but my dad, he was my role model growing up.
Okay. Yeah, so kind of was thinking, because you said you went to Lutheran East High School, right? And that's not considered the Senate, right?
No.
Okay, so how was it, I guess, playing for that versus playing for a school in the Senate, like Marshall or Rhodes or East Tech or something like that?
Oh, I loved playing at Lutheran East, man. When I first got there, my freshman year, we had a conference. We were in a conference. We were in, I believe it was called the East Suburban Conference. And that was my freshman year and my sophomore year. And the East Suburban Conference wasn't great. It was a lot of like Christian schools, Catholic schools, like Open Door and Youngstown Christian or this and that, schools like that, Cornerstone, which at that time, those schools weren't what they are today. You look at a Cornerstone Christian now, today, you got some guys that's Division I players that came out of there. They done been down the states and all kind of stuff. But at the time where I was playing against Cornerstone, it hadn't grown to that yet. But the good thing about Lutheran East was that we were able to go independent after my sophomore year. So then from that point on, we played whoever we wanted. We had a free slate. We could schedule whoever we wanted all the way through, no league games. Wow. And so that was great for my career, because that allowed my coach to say, okay, I got a team that's coming along pretty good. I got some players that can play. Let me go and get some different teams on the schedule. And so we were a Division IV high school, but we played probably 12 Division I schools on our schedule once we went independent. And we played well against them, but it was big. The fact that we were independent, being at Lutheran East and being able to go independent, that was big for my career because that allowed me to get more exposure and it allowed me to match up with better competition.
Man, for me, because I played basketball like early on, but I wasn't as good as you, of course, but I know I played in the Senate and I went to Rhodes, I went to Marshall, but I could say one thing that I feel like probably separated us from other schools outside the Senate was that we didn't really, I guess, like work on fundamentals like the other schools did. And that's why when a Senate school face one of those schools out the division or whatever, it'll seem like we just out there trying to play, but we can't keep up with the organized basketball because they're doing it so well. And it's like all we was practicing on was like, playing 5-on-5, like running a couple plays, but our dribbling to be off, like us passing the ball, our shooting to be off. But the whole time, it's like when it comes to the Catholic schools, everybody on their team can shoot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, because at a school like Lutheran East, I mean, most of us were basketball players. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is the majority of us had kind of came there with the thoughts to playing basketball or playing a sport. They had scholarships and all this kind of stuff. And, we played AAU year round. We did training. Like, it's a little bit of a different situation from just, okay, this is the public high school. And, we have a big open tryout and we just keep the best guys there. At the schools like Lutheran East, the other different schools, it's more so kind of like it's specified, like this is a basketball school, you know what I mean? Like, and Lutheran East had actually just went to states before I got there. Like when I was in the 8th grade, Lutheran East won states in Division 4, you know what I'm saying? So it's already an expectation there, it's a little bit of a different situation.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess playing basketball and stuff like that, you got a lot of players that end up not being able to go Division 1 because of their grades. So like how big it is keeping your grades together from 9th grade to 12th grade? Like what would you recommend these players? Because a lot of them like, I just want to play ball and maintain that C average or that 2.0, but they really don't know like, yo, this can separate you from going from a D3 to a D1.
Yeah, man. That's really the most important part of it, honestly, because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the grades to go to school, then you just don't go. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you got guys that go junior college, but now you just making your path, you making your path a lot harder. You know what I mean? When you got to do the junior college route or what have you. But yeah, man, I had personal experience with that. Like, if I'm honest, I had to, when I was a senior, my senior year, I did night school in order to get my academics together in order to be eligible to go Division 1, because the first team that came and recruited me was Cleveland State. And I was Gary Waters at Cleveland State. And at this time, they were really good. They had guys, Cedric Jackson and Jonathan Bullock. They were like really good. They went to the NCAA tournament, and I believe they had beat Illinois. And like they beat Illinois team. And I think the Illinois team had Johnny Flynn, if anybody, remembers that time. So they were really good. And I was like really excited. And at this time, Cleveland State hadn't built all of the new facilities and everything like that. So when I went on my visit there, Gary Waters showed me what Cleveland State was about to become. And so I was really eager and excited about that. And that was at a moment where I wasn't necessarily that focused on my grades, because I didn't even know my own potential as far as the basketball court was concerned, So I was going to school and I was playing and everything, but I wasn't putting enough into my books, you know what I mean, like I should have been. And so I actually missed that opportunity, you know what I mean, because of my academics. And so after that, luckily for me, I was able to make the switch quick. I was like, okay, I'm not about to, you know what I mean? I'm not about to miss this opportunity. And so some of my other schools that were recruiting me, the one that I ended up going to, St. Francis University, He's now the head coach there, but at this time he was the assistant. He really grabbed a hold of me, and he came and he would drive to Cleveland. I remember he came with a package. He was like, look, the NCAA clearinghouse says you need this, this, and this. Can I talk to your guidance counselor? Have you took the ACT, the SAT? You need this and that. So he really, I owe him a lot as far as, not owing, but he done a lot for me as far as bringing me up to speed with my grades and making me understand, what it took from an academic standpoint to get to the next level. And I was able to accomplish it, but night school was not easy. You know what I mean? It was a lot of work, and it was not easy, man. It was not easy at all.
Man, that's crazy. A lot of people probably don't even know that about you.
No, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. So I guess like playing basketball, everybody, they got that low point of their basketball career. Like, do you feel like you ever hit like a low point while playing?
A low point? Yeah. I did hit a low point during my career. I would say it was my sophomore season at St. Francis.
Mm-hmm.
That was my lowest point of my career, I would say. Okay. And the reason that I would say that is because what happened was my freshman year, when I got to St. Francis, I was coming off of a state championship run. We didn't win states, but we went down to Columbus and lost in the state Final Four. I was coming off of I was really riding a lot of momentum coming out of high school. I was coming off of 25 and 13 a game, had a lot of confidence. And so going into my freshman year, and then when I was in high school, I didn't really lift weights a lot. I didn't really, we like in those days, most of the high school coaches around in the city, they weren't former players,
right?
Or they weren't former players that played at high levels. And so my high school coach, I believe he played like junior college or Division III or something like that. But whatever the case was, we didn't really have a weight program and things like that. So when I got to college my freshman year, I started hitting the weights, got on that program, got to eating and everything, and my body transformed. I was already very athletic, but I became even more athletic, and I had a lot of confidence, and all of that led to me having a really good freshman season. So I started all but 3 games my freshman year at St. Francis, and as a freshman, I think I shot 34% from 3. And I made the conference rookie team.
Okay.
So there was 5 guys. Huh?
What position did you play?
I played 4. I played power forward.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead.
So I was playing power forward. I was a stretch 4 shooter. And the team wasn't that good. The team was coming off like a 6-23 season. And so coach was like, hey man, this is wide open. We ain't made much noise last year. Like, you got freshman guys coming in. If they can get it done, then they get it done. And I was able to make my way into the starting lineup and have a real role on the team early as a freshman. So I say all that to say that I had a great freshman year, and going into my sophomore year, I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting ready to just set the world on fire now. You know what I mean? Like, I had all of this confidence from the year before and everything. I think I averaged 10 points, 10 or 11 points as a freshman, behind a senior that was averaging 15 or 16. He was first team all league. And so he left and graduated too after that. So my sophomore year, I'm like, okay, coach is telling me yeah, you are returning all league player. You are a guy. I want to move you to the 3 spot and all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of huge expectations on my sophomore year. And then when I got there and it started going, I'm 19 and I had a okay handle, but my handle wasn't what it needed to be a Division III wing player. You know what I mean? I had the size, I had the shot, but my handle and my foot speed wasn't quite what it needed to be at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started the season off playing the three, and I was having I had never played the three in my life. Well, I had played the three, but that's just a different level of playing the three. You know, when you're at a Division I level and you got to come off of a ball screen and make plays and, you know, make pull-up jump shots, then you got to, you know, guard threes that's coming off ball screens. You got to be able to fight over, chasing them off staggers. Like, that's a whole different animal from playing the three in high school, or, oh, I'm the right size to play the three. Like, you got to have the wins. You got to have it's a lot to it. You know what I mean? And so I got like 10 or 12 games into the season, and it just was really hard for me, man. Making the adjustment to the three at that season was really hard for me. And I wasn't shooting the ball as well as I did the year before. I mean, I wasn't getting as many rebounds because I was farther away from the basket. And I had to learn the plays from that spot. You know, I was trying to work on the handle. It was just, it was tough for me. And so what ended up happening was I ended up going to my coach and saying, hey, man, I need, I think I'm better suited at the four.
Right.
And so he was like, okay, I respect that. So we made the change and moved me back to the four. And I went back to the four, and then boom, you know, I kind of reverted back. Everything reverted back. My numbers started going back up, and everything started to become back. I was back in my familiar place. And so I was able to, like, kind of salvage, so to speak, my sophomore season in the terms of numbers wise. Mm-hmm. But I think I would have had way better numbers had I started the season at the four spot and not even kind of did that whole experiment with the three spot and everything. Mm-hmm. But that was a tough year for me. That was really hard for me to, like, try to make that adjustment to the three. And then it was hard for me to make the decision, like, okay, do I just keep going with this and, you know, statistically speaking, have a worse season than I had as a freshman, or do I just go to coach and say, hey, switch me back, which is what I did. And then, you know, so I had a lot going on in my head, you know, I'm trying to figure out. And then, like, now I'm past like the basic level classes too. Now I'm getting into like major specific classes, you know what I mean? So now the course load is getting a little harder, you know what I mean? So it was like kind of all of that stuff together. And I was the guy, you know, I had a lot of expectations on me because the senior had left and graduated, and I was the returning guy. So it was just a lot. It was just a lot that season. And I think that year I ended up averaging like 10 points again, like 10 and 6 or 7, something like that. And so it was kind of like statistically almost the same.
Right.
Except I shot the three a little bit worse that year. But that was my toughest season. You know, I had to do some searching. I was young. I was 19. You know what I mean? I had to do some soul searching and some thinking that season. So that was tough.
No, definitely.
And I actually ended up transferring after that season. So, you know, I transferred to Miami of Ohio after that season.
Okay, so once you transferred to Miami, Ohio, like, how did your stats, I guess, did it improve, or did it like stay the same or get worse?
They improved. They improved. Yep. But, you know, I had a red shirt year when I transferred to Miami of Ohio. I red shirted 1 year. You know, that's the transfer rule. And so during that year, I was able to get acclimated with the new program, with the new system, and with the difference in the levels, because Miami of Ohio is a higher level conference and a higher level program than St. Francis was. The league was just different. Like the NEC, which is the conference St. Francis was in, is more so it's kind of a up-tempo, fast-paced, small ball type of league.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went to the MAC, that was different. Guys were bigger, guys, you talking about teams now that's beating high major teams, guys that's got going to the NBA, it was a different animal. So I was able to adjust and acclimate myself and actually have better stats my junior year when I did become eligible.
Okay. And when you was talking about like how you was playing the 4 and then they moved you to the 3 and it didn't work out how either one of y'all, you or the coach, wanted it to. I guess, like, do you feel like sometimes when you come up playing basketball because of your size, do you feel like coaches kind of set players up for failure by not having them, I guess, develop correctly, if you get what I'm asking?
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're asking. That's a funny question. That's a very interesting question because now that I'm a coach, like this is my first year coaching, and now I got a little bit of a different perspective when it comes to that question. Because see, as a player, I would say like 100%, yeah, you know what I mean? Like coaches set players up for failure when they don't let them shoot and dribble. And you know what I mean? Even just because of their size and this and that. But now as a coach, I can honestly say that I understand a little bit more in the sense that when you're trying to win, you need guys to do what they do well at that time.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? In a lot of cases, like you might not necessarily, have the time or even want to take the time to say, okay, I'm going to let this guy go through these growing pains for 2 or 3 years of dribbling when he's the tallest guy on the floor. You know what I'm trying to say? And he's dribbling through 2 or 3 people. He's turning the ball over. We got other guys with potential and other guys with talent over here. And this guy's just mucking it up over here. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a coach, now I can clearly understand more so coaches saying, hey, man, I need you to do this. I need you to do what you do. I need you to do what you're good at. I definitely understand that. But I will also say that there are situations where you as a coach, you do need to help players blossom. But I think also that's on the player, I would say. Right. I will also say that that's on the player too. Like as a player, you can't expect the coach to just kind of like rock you like a baby and like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say? Like you got to take it upon yourself as a player to say, okay, I'm the tallest guy on the team. I'm 6'5" or 6'4" in high school. Everybody around me is shorter, but I think I might be able to be a 3 at the next level. You got to say, okay, well, I'm playing the post because my coach wanted me to play the post now. But when I get in the gym by myself, I'm still working on my handle.
Right.
When I'm at the rec center, I'm pushing the ball. You know what I mean? You got to take your own game into your own hands. You know what I'm saying? It's not always on the coach to, you can't blame the coach for everything. And that was another thing I learned at the collegiate level too. So, that's my answer to that. I would say, yes, the coach has something to do with it, but a lot of it is on the player.
Okay. So yeah, like moving forward, right? So you played, once you left college, you started playing basketball overseas. How was it being like overseas playing basketball out the country?
Man, so there was like a ton of, there's a ton of things to that, bro. Like first things first is like obviously the language barrier.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, okay, boom, I show up in Holland in the Netherlands. I show up to the gym, I get to practice, and I just hear a bunch of gibberish when I walk in the gym. You know what I mean? I don't understand nothing that nobody is saying. And so just imagine, like, I mean, even when you're in the States, when you go to a different program or a new coach, you have to learn that new coach's style. You have to learn that new coach's system. You got to learn that new coach's warm up. You got to learn how he likes to do things. Well, imagine that, only you can't communicate with anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, all right, I'm trying to do this passing drill right here, and I actually don't know what anybody is saying. You know what I mean? It's like, can somebody explain it to me? Well, not really. You know, they can, but their English isn't that good. So it would take them 20 minutes to pull you to the side and try to explain to you through broken English how this system works. So you gotta be able to be a basketball mind and like soak everything that's going on in and pick up plays fast and learn and all of that, which is very hard to do, man. Even in 6-7 years down the line in my career, I would see guys 30 years old plus that had a lot of trouble with that kind of stuff.
Right. So I guess the biggest adjustment for you was the language barrier. But when it came down to it, you probably just had to pay attention to the plays and really memorize it, huh?
Yeah, man. And then like not even just the language barrier, but then you got rule change. So like in Europe, they call it an open step, is like what we would call a rip through. Here in our country, in the United States, is like a rip through, and you know, you take this long step. But in Europe, you can't do that rip through and like take that long step. You gotta cross step, as they say. You gotta, you know, your footwork got to be different. They call it travel on things that we don't call travels on here. You know, and that rip through move just so happened to be one of my that happened to be the pillar, like the cornerstone of my whole offensive game, because I was a explosive, kind of undersized, explosive, fast, dribbling type of big, where I would get the ball and face up and rip through a lot of times. And I would build my game off of that. And so then I get to Europe and it's like my 80% of my game is snatched away from me, and, you know, boom, that fast. And so I had to learn how to find some new moves. I had to learn how to fit in the offense that wasn't. So then another thing, I mean, now you playing with grown men, you playing with real pros. I mean, my rookie season, I played with what most people would have considered the best Dutch basketball player in Holland. The people in Holland are called the Dutch. And so he was the best. He was pretty much the best local player in that whole country. He was on my team, and he was a guard. So he dominated the ball a ton. And he was a beast. You know, he was a beast. His name was Worthy de Jong. He was a beast, but that was an adjustment. You know, I was used to, I mean, I told you, like my freshman year, I was getting a lot of touches. So that was an adjustment for me. I'm like, dang, I got him. And then I got 4 other Americans. I played with Maurice Creek, Mo Creek. He played at Indiana and then transferred to George Washington. He's one of the best shooters from that class, from our class. I mean, I played with another guy, stretch 4 from Bucknell, which they won the Patriot League when we were in school. I played against him in college. He was a great shooter. I played against Dylan Cormier was on my team that year, my rookie season. He was a top 10 scorer in the country. He played at what school? He played at a school in Baltimore. He was like 20 or 22 points a game in Division I college. You know what I'm saying? So I had 4 Americans on my team that were just as dangerous, and then a local guy, you know, so it was just like, I'm not the focal point here. You know what I mean? And so that was an adjustment for me. So now I got to learn new plays. I got to learn new systems. I got to try to learn how to understand this new language. And I got to learn how to play with, I got to learn how to be a role player. Right. So that was a huge, huge adjustment. And that was year 1, you know, that was year 1. That was huge adjustment period, man. And then the season is twice as long. So the season is 10 months opposed to our 5 months in college. So, you know, by the time I get to March, I'm like, man, all right, I'm body is breaking down. I'm tired. And it's like, no, we got 4 more months to go. We ain't even got to the playoffs yet. And I was on one of the best teams there. So then we get to the playoffs and we doing like the NBA, best of 7 series. And we got all these rounds to go through. Like it was a lot, man. That was a huge adjustment.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So I guess a lot of people, like, say if they know they don't got plans of going to the NBA, right? They like, I'm just gonna go to overseas and hopefully make some good money. Do you feel like the money you made overseas was good? Because I know some people probably would say no.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yes. To answer the question, yes. The money that I made overseas was good. I definitely I did pretty well, I would say. I didn't do as good as people I know. You know what I mean? Like I know other players that made more money than me. I know a lot of players that made less money than me. Yeah, it made sense for me to be over there for sure. I mean,
it made sense.
You know, it made sense for me to be over there. My team provided housing, my team provided a car, you know, they took care of all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, I did pretty good, but did I make as much as I would have liked to make? No, you know what I mean? Because when I was in high school and in college, you know, that was in the early, like especially high school in the like earlier 2000s. You had guys, and this guys around in the city, older guys that I knew that I would see, and they would walk in the gym and they Louis head to toe. You know what I mean? You go outside, they got the new Escalade, the new Range Rover, gym bag. They got a Louis V gym bag. They pulling, you know, sweaty gym shoes out of a $8,000 bag. You know what I mean? And they talking about, you know, I made 350. I made 350K this year, and or you know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? That's kind of when I was in college and in high school, those were the kind of stories and things that you would see. And even like early 90s guy, like the guys that played overseas in like the later 90s, like the mid to late 90s in the early 2000s, that was like big time. That was a big time as far as money is concerned overseas. They were making a lot of money at that time that they don't necessarily make today. It's a little bit different. And on top of that, the euro in those days, at those times, was worth a lot, like significantly more than the dollar was.
Wow, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So like in 2000 or in 2004, 2005, you know, the euro was worth like $1.75.
Right.
So like you could make you know, you can make 50,000 overseas, and then it's like, well, that's actually almost 100,000 when you get back home.
Yeah, no, that's true. Cause I was out in Germany because I was in the Army, and like we definitely had to convert our money over a lot of times, especially living overseas. I did 3 years in Germany. I was in Grafenberg, Germany, if you know anything about it. So I was all in Europe. So I know what you talk about. Like that money thing is a totally different thing.
Yeah. So imagine, like, so I heard stories from older guys that I played with and that I know from overseas that was like, yeah, when I was over there, you know, €1 was $1.75, $1.82. And imagine there was a season when I was in France where €1 was $1.05.
Wow.
You know what I mean? To make to bring that, like, to make the comparison, it's like, you know what I'm saying? That's almost equal.
Right.
In comparison to guys in 90, 99 or in 03, where they like doubling, they salary is double what it is when they get back home. You know, so and that's stuff that you know, a lot of people don't know, you don't know that kind of stuff unless you involved or you know what I mean?
Right.
And whatnot, are you talking to people and stuff? But yeah, overseas can be very lucrative. It is very lucrative to a lot of guys, but into some guys it's not that lucrative. And it's not easy to get to the money overseas either, because everybody is trying to get to it, and sometimes it comes down to politics and agents and stuff. It gets really, that conversation it's got a lot of layers to it. Teams find ways to try to devalue you, and they have favorites. GMs have favorite players, and it's all kind of politics and stuff involved in it. So money doesn't necessarily, I've seen guys that couldn't put my shoes on make a ton of money over there. You know what I mean? So money don't necessarily equate to gain all the time either.
Right.
I mean?
No, I appreciate that, because a lot of people that's going to listen to the podcast, you might have players that eventually going to play overseas, and they probably need to hear this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
That you broke that down. I was going to ask you, like, how big is team cohesion, like, since you've been playing basketball?
Man, team cohesion is the biggest thing. To be honest, team cohesion is the biggest thing. And I learned that I knew early on, like when I was in college, my coach, you hear coaches always preach cohesion and your teammates and this and that, but it really, really hit home to me when I got overseas and I started playing against some teams that were like extremely good, extremely hard to beat. And the reason they were that good and hard to beat was because of how cohesive they were. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that you don't necessarily run into or maybe notice in college. Sometimes, like in college, a lot of times we would play against a good team, or we would, lose to a good team. And I would just think like, they was just better. You know what I mean? A lot of times you think like, okay, these guys is just better. Like I had played against Ohio State my freshman year when they won the Big Ten championship with Evan Turner, Whitey, Buford, Lauderdale, Diebler, like the whole gang. And, obviously they blew us out, but like, you skip right over the team cohesion part and just say, yo, they're just extremely talented. But it's like when you look around the Big Ten, you had Michigan State floating around there. You had all kind of teams, and they were the Big Ten champions for a reason. And they did have great cohesion, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't really see it, at that time. But when I got to become a pro and I got to where everybody is good, you know what I mean? You grab any team, they got everybody is a good player pretty much. So it's like, nah, you need this cohesive unit that's going to stick together when times is good, when times is bad, that's going to play defense, that's going to communicate. Like cohesion is really what, a lot of it is talent, of course, but we see it all the time. You look at the Lakers right now, or you look at any of the good teams in the NBA, just because you got a super team or you got a big three or a big five, now you got to build cohesion. Now it take you 4 months to build cohesion. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like Golden State, even like that's cohesion. That's not just, they're head and shoulders talent-wise over the top. The reason why they were a well-oiled machine is because of their cohesiveness. You know what I mean? So,
they was built from the ground up too.
Exactly.
I was just telling my brother about it, because my brother, he used to hoop back in the day. I'm pretty sure you probably hooped with him before, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Say it again.
I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, yep.
Played for Rose.
Yeah, he played for Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is that we always talk about like Golden State. I'm like, man, look, when Clay come back, if they healthy, I got them. Like, I'm a Lakers fan, but I got the Warriors winning the finals, because like they system and how fun they have when it comes to playing basketball, that it can't be matched.
Right.
I don't know. It just can't be matched. But then you got the Nets. The Nets look all right with Kyrie and James Harden and Kevin Durant, but I still don't feel like I feel like it might be too much of a headache to try to get all them pieces together. But with the
Exactly.
Warriors, it don't matter if Curry have 30 and Clay have 10 and Draymond have 5. They all celebrate each other. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, that's huge, man. Team cohesion. I mean, you can even have a team that's not that talented and
Right.
go a long way. I mean, and like I said, like a team, like I remember in college playing against teams in the Patriot League, I felt that they were good examples of this looking back, like a Bucknell, like Lehigh's, like teams like those teams were not the most talented teams in the world, but they were hard to beat just because they were cohesive. They ran they systems to a T, and they would move that ball around until they got the right shot for everybody, not the right shot for me or the right shot for you. You know what I'm saying? It was the right shot for the team. And then on defense, it was, well, you might be better than my 4-man one-on-one, but you ain't gonna play him one-on-one because we building a wall, we helping him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's team cohesion. So, it play a big role.
Man, definitely.
Yeah.
So this year, your first year as a JV coach, what is something that you can say you had to adjust to from, I guess, like coming from being a college player, then an overseas player to now coaching? Like, what's something you like, man, I had to adjust to this because I'm not playing no more?
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, the first thing is just the level. I had to adjust to the level of play. What I mean by that is, I'm coming directly from playing, pro
Right.
and everything, playing at a high level, to now coming back down to, 15 and 16-year-olds that aren't, we're not talking we talking about the JV team. You know what I'm saying? So now I show up in the gym. I mean, I'm seeing guys goofing off, a lot of joking around, guys walking in late, this and that. And then I'm seeing missed layups, right hand missed layups, guys just throwing the ball all over the gym, and that's not to knock them as players, because, this is JV, like I said, this is the level that we working with. They need to learn, but that was, that can be nerve-wracking. You know what I mean? Like, I hadn't been at the grassroots level of basketball in so long. I was so far removed from it that I'm used to more so like what you're talking about, like cohesion problems, where I got this guy that averaged 20 in Germany and this guy coming from Italy, you know what I'm saying? And I'm 5 years in France with a name and this, that, and the third. And so I'm trying to rock and roll, do my thing in the post, and he shooting through, you know what I'm saying? Then I'm going, and then like, okay, we playing against this team. They got a Spanish point guard. They play fast. How do we walk? You know what I'm saying? All of this like deep basketball stuff, all the way back to like, can we make a right-hand layup? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, that's like, and that's just me being honest and being transparent. Like that is challenging. You know what I mean? Like that was a challenge for me. But I've come along with it. You know what I mean? I've come along with it, adjusted to it. I'm becoming more patient and trying to continue to become more patient with my players and everything, and trying to teach them, and help them build their game step by step. And so, that was a big adjustment for me. And then another adjustment was like, all right, so now from a coaching standpoint, before I've been a player all my life. So it's like all of my problems pretty much come, when I show up to the gym, most of the time I'm thinking, how do I make myself better?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So then it's like, all right, well, I just go and shoot 300 pick and pop threes. You know what I mean? Or like it was easy for me to just kind of assess my game and make progress because it's like clear, all I got to worry about is what I'm doing. Not all I got to worry about, but most of what I'm worrying about is me assessing myself. You know what I mean? But now when I show up in the gym, it's like, okay, how do I get max potential out of this guy?
Mm-hmm.
How do I, this guy I see a lot of potential in, but he don't have the confidence. How do I raise his confidence? But at the same time, raise his confidence or don't lower his confidence by taking him out of the game too much. You know what I'm saying? It's like now I got a lot of people to worry about. You know what I'm saying? As a coach, I got the whole entire team that I got to try to individually figure out and choose how do I maximize everybody's potential. Whereas when I was a player, I just showed up and I'm like, all right, I'm maximizing my own potential today by shooting shots. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, are we not winning because I'm not getting enough people involved? Okay, I'll just pass the ball more today. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more like cut and dry to the point than coaching where you show up and it's literally a gym full of guys and you got to figure out how they all fit, you know what I mean? How to piece the puzzle together and get the best out of everybody,
So basically, I mean, for me, I guess it comes down from like you using your experience from you playing high school, you playing college, and then you playing overseas, and you come back and coach it. So really, it's like leadership too. That I guess like that you trying to instill in them, because of them, I guess growing up as like being in high school, they not really thinking like I gotta be a leader. You know what I'm saying? But eventually they got to adjust to it. But this is something that you actually went through. So you trying to show them like, hey, look, you guys ain't going through something that I haven't went through. Like I went through this. So now you giving them your experiences and you trying to be the head of the operation. So yeah, like I know leadership is a very key thing, and eventually they're going to transition.
Right. And see, it's a different, and it's interesting when you start talking about leadership. It's a different type of leadership because I was a leader as a basketball player. I was a leader for most of my career. When I was in high school, I was a captain. I was the leader in score, this, that, and the third. I was a leader. Then when I got to college, I was immediately in a higher, leadership role, so to speak. And all the way through, I was a captain all the way through. And then when I got to be a pro, I wasn't a leader right away, but after 3 or 4 years, once I like kind of started to get a reputation a little bit and got to the right coach, I became a leader of that team. And I won a championship one year and I was a leader on that team, but see, the thing about leading when you're a player is you lead by example. So it's like, all right, when for example, the team, when I won the championship, I could just, I get in the game, I just start yelling at the top of my lungs, bringing the intensity. I make a shot, I get a block, I shove somebody, you know what I mean? Like I ignite my team through my actions. But now as a leader from a coaching perspective, I can't lead by example. You know what I mean? I can't lead with my actions on the court. I have to ignite you verbally. You know what I'm saying? I have to find other ways to ignite guys. Whereas before I'm used to just, all right, I need to pick my team up. I'm about to go out here and do something. Myself, I'm about to do something. Now it's like, no, I got to stand on the sideline, but I got to say something that is going to ignite the team. You know what I'm saying? So it's a different type of leadership.
Definitely. So we talked about it before, we talked about you being a first generation college graduate. Like, I guess like how important is it for you to show others the way of laying that foundation down and getting an education and sometimes being the first in your generation to show others?
That's huge, man. That's super important to me. I told you I got a younger sister, And then I got a lot of younger cousins, a lot of my first cousins and immediate close cousins that I grew up with most of them are younger than me. And so that's kind of my role, I guess you could say, from just naturally. So I just assume that that's been my role for my whole life. And so that's just kind of the way that I move now. It's kind of a built-in thing where I look to mentor and show through my actions and speech, kind of lead by example and kind of pave the way, so to speak. That's kind of a natural thing for me. And so it was really big when I was able to graduate and be the first in my household to graduate. And so when I went to Miami of Ohio, I had a great time and my family and everybody got acclimated. And so then my little sister, she ended up coming to Miami of Ohio. So then she graduated from Miami of Ohio. And then right now I have two little cousins right now that are at Miami of Ohio. Right now, you know what I mean? So now it's turned into a whole family kind of legacy that I guess you could say I kind of sparked, so to speak, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's a big part of who I am, you know what I mean? Leading by example and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's good too that you, I guess, started that off, you know what I'm saying, for even going to Miami of Ohio and showing them like, you know what, if I do it, you can do it too. Right. And good program. I'm pretty sure they asked you questions about it before they even entered it. That's a good thing. And then now everybody after you is getting acclimated. They're getting their degrees, and shoot, once they done, the other family members gonna go and do the same thing. You know, yeah, that's good. I feel like a lot of families don't have that, you know what I'm saying, that impact of somebody who's doing something like that, playing basketball, graduating, getting degrees, and then like actually coming back, you know what I'm saying, to show them like, you know what, I did it, you can do it too. And yeah, I feel like that's what's missing in the household for a lot of us, you know. So
I agree.
Yeah, for me, I'm probably gonna be the first college graduate for the generation. And I'm excited, man, because I feel like, man, for a long time, I've been trying to get my degree. I did join the military when I was like 22 years old, but before that, I'd go to college for like a couple semesters, then I'll stop. And then once I was in the military, in order for you to get promoted, you got to go to college. So I was kind of like, man, like, what do I have to do? And realistically, what I had to do was just get a couple college credits here and there. And it might be a slow grind, but it's something that I actually can do. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna be, you know, worth my while. So I was like, let me just grind and keep going. And then here I am now, I guess years later, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still gonna get the degree. And really, it's not about, I guess, how you start, it's how you finish, you know?
Definitely about how you finish, bro. Early congratulations on that, man. That's dope. That's really dope.
Yeah. So real quick, I kind of want to talk about your watch brand. Can you explain what the name is and like what the brand stands for?
Yeah. So the name of my watch brand is called Ninth Wonder Watches. We are 1 year and some change old now. Started it in the midst of the pandemic. I was here at home in the United States during the time when I started it, but I had flew back from France. And you know, while I was playing ball, I knew that I wanted to have other streams of income and things like that, but I didn't really know what I wanted them to be or how to build them. And I kind of felt like I couldn't do it from France. And so when the pandemic brought me back home and I was kind of sitting around, you know, obviously everybody's sitting around quarantine and whatever. And I'm like, oh man, you know what? Now is my opportunity, you know, to build a new stream of income while I'm at home. Like I don't have no excuses now for why I can't do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's pretty much how Ninth Wonder Watches was born.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really happy that I did that. I'm really happy that I embarked on that entrepreneurial journey.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any prior experience to business or entrepreneurship or anything like that. So I definitely learned a lot of things. And I honestly, and Ninth Wonder did really, really good for his first year, like way better than I expected, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect, but to somebody that has never been in business or done business, business can be like kind of a real like scary kind of thing. It's like, oh man, I got to put this money out here and I don't really know how this is gonna go. I don't have no prior experience. I gotta try to get out here and get in front of people and sell something that first of all, I gotta put my name on something. You know what I mean? Like I gotta take ownership for this. I gotta put my name on it. And then I gotta ask people to give me, money for it. Like that can, you know what I mean? That's not always the most easiest thing for people to do, I would say. But I'm glad that I did it. And the first year went pretty good. I was very happy with the first year.
Mm-hmm.
It had a lot of challenges. I'll say one of the biggest challenges with it for me was the social media aspect. The social media presence was tough for me
Why you
because,
say why you say it was kind of like challenging for you?
yeah, that was challenging for me because I'm not really, I traditionally haven't been a very big social media guy.
Right.
Ever since like MySpace and Facebook, I was never like really that big on all of
Mm-hmm.
the social media stuff. And so, but having a business and having a brand, especially e-commerce business, where your business is based off of, traffic and internet traffic and things like that, you gotta have a presence online. You gotta have a presence on the socials and things like that. And that just wasn't natural for me. I didn't really necessarily desire to be that active on social media either, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So that was definitely one of the challenges for me. But luckily,
I'm
luck,
here. I'm here.
yeah, luckily I do have people around me that helped me out. It just so happens that my sister, like, has a degree in interactive media management and stuff like that. So and she worked in retail for a million years and everything. So she was like extremely, extremely helpful in my journey with Ninth Wonder Watches.
Right.
And yeah, so I was lucky. I was lucky to have her. And then like, one of my close friends, John, he's in the marketing and stuff like that too. And so I had like I had help, like I didn't do it alone by myself, but and that's still, I still got a long way to go with Ninth Wonder as far as what I would like it to evolve into.
Right.
But I also believe that there's a lot of things that I have in the works, you know what I mean, that I believe will take it to the next level. But another thing I learned too about business is that it takes time. It takes time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it don't happen overnight. It just takes time. You got to build the brand. You got to build the presence of the brand. You got to build the awareness of the brands. You got to, all of that kind of stuff. It takes time. It takes time. But and then that's they say, one of the secret, the special ingredients or the special ingredients in business is not giving up. You see all the time on the socials and this and that. Well, if you just stick around long enough and you keep trying, keep reinventing, eventually it pops. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of, I strongly believe in that with business too. I think that, and that's really anything. I mean, I can think of a million basketball players that, just pop up one day and be this great player. And it's like, well, I've been playing with him for 6 or 7 years and he was just okay. You know what I mean? It's like that's kind of it's pretty much just like everything else in life, you know, it's just business, but it's the same thing. Like you know, you do it for a while, you keep trying, you keep getting better, and then it works out, you know.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And even like me starting to Flow for Life, like I sell my hoodies and stuff like that. And as far as like the online presence, I really didn't have a major online presence at first. So that's why one of my friends was like, you know what, you do all this other stuff. So I do credit repair and like financial literacy and stuff like that on my other page. But she was saying like you shouldn't keep all that together and then you throw your Flow for Life podcast in there. People gonna be confused about what it is that you do. So she is like, you need to work on separating it. So I took her advice. I created another social media page. That's the Flow for Life podcast page. And my other page is actually disabled right now. Like, I don't know if somebody tried to hack it or what, but maybe that was a sign to start creating and doing more podcasts. So that's what I started doing. I'm like, man, let me start putting out more episodes, getting more guests on here. So really, I ain't even get discouraged because one of my pages was gone. It just motivated me to work outside the one that I should be building up anyway. So I was happy about that. And then as far as like the entrepreneurial journey and stuff like that, just doing stuff, taking a risk. Like I started off with like t-shirts with this original logo right here. I started off with, and I started selling shirts. I started selling hoodies and hats and really you buy the stuff before you actually even, you know, start selling it. So I bought like the logos, like 200 of them and try to sell out of them. And I got to order these hoodies. And sometimes I buy like shirts and all that stuff, different colors in advance before I even know it's going to get sold. But it goes down to marketing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like people want to come to your page, see marketing that's, I guess that'll separate you from somebody else that's doing the same thing. How much you post on Instagram. Like what's the benefits of me coming to check out your Instagram and I guess for me to buy your brand, you know, because now you kind of competing with, you know, different brands, like, you know, people like wearing expensive stuff. So they don't like to support us at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? So them coming in and trying to support you, it's like, well, why should I support what you got going on? Although it might be a little bit cheaper, I'd rather still spend it with the big brands because they got a name. So really building up your name and your brand and like showing people that, you know what, like Flow for Life is here to stay and this is what I got to offer. And then I'm going to keep going from this. But really, I feel like since I've been starting on the podcast, all I've been doing for real is just building that foundation. You know what I'm saying? Might not get 1,000 likes, might not get 1,000 views, but I guarantee when somebody listens to the podcast, they're going to be like, man, hey, he was talking about someone there and the guest that he had on there, like it's impactful. It's stuff that we need to hear, stuff we need to listen to, the information, the experiences that they're talking about. This is something that I'm going through right now. You know what I'm saying? So really, I kind of don't even get caught up in numbers and stuff like that. It's just like at the end of the day, am I impactful what I'm doing? And then a lot of people, you know, they give you feedback. They say, hey, look, I like Flow for Life. And I love when people give me feedback too. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to episodes and stuff like that, like, yo, when I first started, I was just using Anchor app. So everything was audio. But I was like, man, I got to buy me a camera. I got to start doing videos. And that's like stuff I learned along the journey is I got to be, I guess, attractable to people that's trying to get familiar with what I'm doing. Because at first the audio thing was cool where I do like a voiceover over a picture and stuff like that. But then I started saying like, man, like I want people to visually see what I'm doing or people I got on here. Like I'm pretty sure like once we get off, I'm gonna edit the video, post a snippet a couple days down the line, but it's gonna be attractable for, of course, for some of your players to hear this, because some of your players, they might only know you as the coach. But the stuff we talked about on the podcast is like, look, this is me as the person and me as the player. You know what I'm saying? And this stuff I experienced. So just hear my story. And then, of course, I'm still your coach, of course, but just hear things that I went through so you can learn from it so you don't make the same mistake. You know what I'm saying? So I know I kind of said a lot because while I was trying to fix my camera, put the battery in there, I was listening to you. But I just wanted to let you know, like, yeah, man, I hear you, and I hear everything that you were saying, and man, like I gotta support the brand. I gotta buy me a watch. I think the watch that I was looking at, it was sold out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the gold one?
Uh,
Or is it the brown leather?
I want to say it was the brown leather one.
Brown leather one, yeah. Those two, so yeah, man. And see, that's you just hit me up about that. But yeah, like those, so that's like with business, man. I can remember, like, that just made me think about, like, I remember when I was first starting Ninth Wonder, I didn't know what watches to buy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know what watches to buy. Like, or what watches to try to put together, which ones, the colors and the styles. I didn't know none of that. I had to literally, like, look around me to see what people wearing out on the street. I had to take some poll. I remember I took like some Instagram polls on my story. I did like all, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Understanding.
Yeah, like the journey was just so new and so different from everything that I had done before, that I was just kind of like, dang, that it was cool, man. It was cool. But it was just like, I wasn't used to being a deer in headlights. I'm used to being the expert in the case. Like, oh, I've been playing basketball since I was 6. You know what I'm saying? I might not have played good tonight, but I know what I did. You know what I mean? It's like, I know why. You know what I'm saying? But here, it's like, yo, I don't have no idea what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's kind of funny you said that too, far as like you didn't know which style of watches to buy, because when I was doing it, I used to buy a bulk of like shirts, and I have like white and black, and I might have red and blue. But I guess what I'm saying is that, like, through me selling and advertising, like, the color black for whatever reason sells the most. Like black,
yes.
white, and gray, red
Yep.
and blue sometimes, but for whatever reason, people like black.
And see, that's what you learn. Yeah, that's same thing with those watches you're talking about. Like, those sold out, and then I got this other one over here that ain't really making much noise. And it's like, well, I thought this one was gonna be the one. I like this one. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you learn, but that's what's so important about the journey of it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, even if you got it, and that's one of the like great things about it that I like about, business, and really about everything about life really in general, is that, like, some things you just can't buy it. You know what I mean? You can't, like, you can't buy talent. You know what I mean? You can't buy like that, like like us learning like what works and what people like and what they don't like and stuff like that. That's just part of the journey. You can't know that beforehand unless somebody tell you. You know what I mean? And even if they tell you, then you're gonna bump into something else down the line. You know what I'm saying? That you wouldn't have known unless you done it. So it's certain things that you just can't. You just have to do it. You know what I mean? You got to earn it. There's no way to brace for it. There's no way to, like, you know what I'm saying? You just got to go through it and do it. And then it's like, those is your stripes. You know what I mean? You earn your stripes like that.
Man, well, yeah, definitely. Everything you just said kind of led us to the last question. So yeah, the last question is, what's more important, the journey or the destination?
Yeah, the journey, man. The journey. And and that really hit home for me too, because so the reason why my basketball career has ended is because I tore my Achilles. I tore my Achilles during the quarantine. After I came back from France in the middle of the season, our season was shut down in 2020. In March 2020, I flew back home, and we were quarantined. Nobody could go anywhere for about 3 months or so. So then, fast forward to like June 2020, I'm up at Lutheran East in my high school, trying to get in shape, trying to get ready to go back overseas. And nobody is around me. I catch the ball, I go to make a move, and like, boom, torn Achilles, just like that.
Man, that's
same route, I'd have stretched, foam rolled, shot, same routine I always have. boom, it happened. Blew my Achilles out, you know what I mean? And that was a very, you know, that again, you know, like tying into the journey thing. My journey had I had kind of got to my destination. So I was kind of sitting at my destination for a little while.
Right.
If you get what I'm saying, that's kind of where I was at in my career. I hadn't got to the level that I wanted to play at as far as being a pro basketball player. But like I said, I had won a championship. I had a ton of individual accolades.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was one of the higher paid players in my league. And I was in a comfortable situation, really nice apartment, cars, this and that. And I was comfortable, and I was kind of in a space in my career where I was coasting for a few years. You know
Right.
what I mean? I had learned the language. I was comfortable. I knew, you know, I was at my destination, just kind of sitting there for a while. And I got a little bit displaced from the journey, you could say.
Right.
But the journey I had took was a tough one. You know what I mean? I learned it was a tough one, but I had got to a space where I was kind of chilling for a while, you know what I'm saying? And so then when I came home, I mean, tore my Achilles, and, you know, all I knew was basketball pretty much. So like from a physical and a mental standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
it was like back to square one. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I got to rebuild my Achilles. I got to rebuild me. You know what I'm saying? I got to rebuild myself. Physically was a journey. And then mentally, I had to rebuild myself. Like, all right, you know, I'm not the same. You know what I mean? It's when people used to seeing you score 25 points a game, or, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be, when you walk in a room with a torn Achilles and a cast, you know, it's a little different. It's a little bit different. People interact with you a little bit different. You interact with yourself and your mind a little bit different.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then on top of that, and I mean, I could go back and play. I mean, you know, it's not a kind of situation where it's like impossible for me to go back and play.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt that it was time for me to focus on my life out. You know, I gave so much to the game of basketball. Like, I couldn't, you know, it would take me 10 hours to tell you how much I gave to the game, you know what I'm saying? But it really took up a lot of my life. And so I made the decision to, you know, leave my playing career where it was. But getting back to the journey thing, now I'm back into the journey again. You know what I'm saying? And so now it's like a new journey, though, because it's like, all right, now how do you, you know, now the playing career is gone, who are you going to be now? Are you going to dwell on, yo, I used to dunk on people 12 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Or are you going, what do you do now? You know what I mean? How do you help now? You know what I'm saying? What do you give to humanity now? You know what I mean? Like, what sets you apart from the other dude 6'7" walking down the street now? You know what I'm saying? Don't tell me something that's not 5 years old. You know what I mean? Tell me something that's not 3 years old. Tell me something that's not 12 years old. You know what I mean?
Right. I was gonna say, I guess what you're doing now, as far as you being a JV coach, I think that you would get more fulfillment doing that now in the later stages of your life. You know what I'm saying? Because you already gave the physical part, you know, to the game. Now you give the mental part to people under you that's trying to walk the same path as you. So yeah, you definitely doing your part, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. And then, like, I'm learning new, you know, I'm evolving as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And learning new things about myself, you know what I mean, that I never would have been able to learn if I would have just been willed a basketball player, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, yeah, now you get into to finding out more about yourself, you know, different things and stuff. So, you know, the journey is a very interesting one. You know, the journey is the best part about it. You know, like, the destination was cool, but then it's like, how long do you stay at the destination? That was like, you know, like what I learned about, like, from basketball is like, okay, you can get there And then it's like, do you just sit there? You know, that's not, you can't just sit there. So technically speaking, there really is no destination. You know what I mean? Because it's like, once you get what you were striving to get, or you get where you were striving to go, if you just say, okay, I'm here now, then you know, does life just end there? You know what I mean? Like you gotta, the whole thing has got to be another journey behind that one. You know, and I didn't really, my mind didn't, you know, I wasn't really thinking that way. I honestly, when I was playing, you know, I was just kind of like, all right, man, I know what I can do when I step on this basketball court every night. Everybody else around here know what I can do. I go outside, people know me. I go down the street. I go 2 hours away. I go 3 hours away. I go back home. You know what I mean? I was kind of in a comfort zone, and I was kind of just chilling at that destination, you could say, a little bit. And so it's like, nah, you know, you gotta always be on the journey, even when you feel like you're in the destination, you know?
Definitely, man. Yeah, I appreciate, you know, all the information you came on here and gave. You gave a lot of gems, a lot of shared experiences, things that you done been through. And yeah, thanks for being the guest, man. I hope in the near future to connect with you again. And I'm definitely going to support the watch brand, but I am waiting on the one watch I was looking at to come back in stock. So
yeah, we gonna restock, and we gonna have some new stuff coming soon, man. So yeah. But yeah, I really appreciate you having me, man. This was I had a great time. I definitely some of this conversation is a conversation that I ain't had, but with nobody but myself, to be honest.
Hey, you know what this is?
So,
hey, this was a therapy session.
yeah, no, this was definitely, this was great, man. This was great. I love to talk though, man. You ask anybody that know me, they'll be like, oh yeah, he'll talk your ear off. But this, I'll definitely drop some stuff though that I ain't gonna say I forgot about, but it was just kind of like back there, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that did happen that way, you know? But yeah, I had a great time, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Enjoy your night, man. I'm gonna drop this episode next week. So yeah, be looking forward to it. Let your players hear, your family, friends, and yeah, they gonna love it, man.
Can't wait, man.
All right, man. Be easy.
All right, bro.
All right.